I always thought so much when it comes to professional wrestling. It's like you gotta have some type of character or something that stands out for the crowd, and people would definitely would want to keep on seeing you. There are so many wrestlers that are like that. Then when the name Bray Wyatt comes, it's definitely a name a lot of people definitely would want to remember. I remember Bray Wyatt, or basically Wyndham Rotunda, first wrestled in WWE as Husky Harris. He was part of one of the early seasons of NXT when it was just like a more reality show where it's like the rookie and the superstar are joined together, and the hopes to actually get themselves the winner of the season and move on to do bigger and better things for the company. And he was in there, and even though he didn't win that season, whatever he was on, he did manage to join in Nexus with Michael McGillicuddy, who was then later better known as Curtis Axel. I I didn't think much of when he was Husky Harris, of course, but then when he got back with NXT, when NXT became more of the developmental brand that we all know today, he he really showed more of his characteristic when he became Bray Wyatt. He really was developing his type of character through like FCW before NXT, and it was something that he definitely worked on for so long. And then the Wyatt family came, and that really was something. Since the main brand debuted in 2014, it's like it was him, Luke Harper, who we all know as Brody Lee, and Eric Rowan, who we know now as Redbeard, Eric Redbeard, basically. They were the type of faction that we definitely want to keep on seeing. There was like no other words to describe how they are. You got basically these type of characters where it's like you got one that is always seeing things. You got like another one that it has that cheap mask, but dangerous as well. And you got the leader of it, Bray Wyatt. And Bray definitely showed everything for it, and it was so great seeing like that, and it got me more into wanting to watch wrestling more than how it was from 2009 through 2013. There wasn't really much happening. It's like you can only think of one moment from that timeline, and that was, of course, CM Punk's biggest momentum in that. And it was like after when that happened, you couldn't really think of anything else when it came with WWE. Then Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family came. And for years they've been running this faction. And years later, when it's been having some splits and some stuff, but then reunites and splits and all that, it was something that really was keeping alive with the whole Bray Wyatt persona. He definitely he was definitely the one that you wanted to see like world champion multiple times. he was Universal Champion on two separate occasions, and then he was WWE Champion in one occasion. But I I wish uh, that he actually did win the Royal Rumble uh, in one of the years that he competed in, and I even wished that he was even a longer Universal Champion, uh, or even winning like any of the World Championships more times than expected. And then when he took time off, and then redevelop a very new type of character, which was basically two gimmicks that kind of mashed in with each other. There was the Firefly Funhouse Bray, which he seemed very happy of everything. He he had the gimmick basically like if it was a child's show, but the kind of like something that you're not expecting from a child's show. It's like he he basically like talks to like these deranged puppets and all that. Like one's a vulture, one's a witch, and even funny enough, one of them is basically Vince McMahon. um, but his expressions changed from like happy to like serious and all that. And afterwards, even with that, comes out the Fiend, one of his biggest gimmicks that we know today, which is like this. He's like deranged in the mask, and he's like more vicious and all that. He would like he looks like the type of character as the Fiend, where you just want to stay away from, and no matter what, he gets you. And it's something that really was on top of. Fast forwarding when he surprisingly got released, I understood a lot of the stuff that was happening, but it was I don't think it was really needed um, for the budget cuts that WWE were doing by releasing so many people throughout 2021 through 2022. And it was like, you basically had the company that was having one of the highest profits, and then you decided to release one of your biggest stars that actually gains profit. And, and that is like, since getting rid of so many of those wrestlers that we wanting to see, it was like harder for a lot of us to really enjoy WWE. Then 2022, the when Vince McMahon originally retired and Triple H took over for the creative and did a lot of rehirings. Um, Bray Wyatt was one of them, and it was like something that I was very very happy about, and I couldn't even like think of how else could you really top a return than Bray Wyatt. But Bray Wyatt's return was more promos than filling up for matches and whatnot. I mean, he did do house shows, but if we're talking about in a live WWE show type of way, the only match that he had was against LA Knight at the Royal Rumble this year. And the match was decent, I would kind of say, but it didn't. I get it was basically a sponsor type of match because it was for the Mountain Dew Pitch Black, but it wasn't really that necessary to have it all set up like that. A regular like hardcore no holds barred street fight, whatever you want to call it, would have done right for it, but it's still it's still something. But Bray Wyatt definitely was showing with his like newer persona and all that. And originally, uh, a promo for whatever the pay per view or PLE was after that, he announced that whoever wins between like Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, he was gonna face at WrestleMania. And then he was out due to illness. Now, it was uncertain of what the illness was, but later on, it was said that it was like life threatening in a way. It was like a major type of illness. And he did, of course, went through with it, and it was like all fine and stuff. But um, later reports also showed that he was contacted with COVID, and I mean, this literally was just said. It wasn't like it was just saying during the time that he was out, but he was contacted with COVID, and then the news basically hit of him passing at the age of 36. I I was in utter disbelief. I was basically leaving work that day, and I I couldn't even think of anything else to say. This this is basically like the fourth biggest name sudden deaths that I have ever heard about when it comes to professional wrestling. First Eddie Guerrero, then Chris Benoit, then Brody Lee, and now Bray Wyatt. I I was like, what happened? Because reports were, of course, showing that he was going to be like returning next month, and all I was like could think of is like, what's next? What is going to happen? And more news show what the cause was, and it was a heart attack. So the COVID wasn't basically the issue of how he passed away, but it was like exaggerated or something like that. I forgot what they like said, but it was like the COVID kind of took a bit of an impact on him, but it wasn't COVID-19 to cause a death for Bray Wyatt. It was a heart attack, and I I was still in utter shock. This is okay. This is basically one day after the news broke out, and I'm still in shock. I couldn't even like concentrate on a lot of stuff, but hearing that is something that I can't really think much of. I want to say for those that enjoy WWE or wrestling in general, Bray Wyatt is definitely one of the best wrestlers around our times. No matter how old you are going to get, no matter how old we are now, he is definitely one of the wrestlers that you want to look back and see a lot of his matches. Good or bad, it's something that we want to keep on watching and see. So to end it all, basically, I want to thank Bray Wyatt, for everything that you have ever done for us, whether it's basically wrestling or helping those that had something going on in their lives. You were there for so many of us. My condolences goes out to Bray Wyatt's family, his kids, and even JoJo, who he was engaged to. For everyone out there, we thank you for the work that you have done.